And we are back with more 999. 999. 9 doors, 9 persons, 9 hours. And if I got those mixed up, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, now we're back, and last time we left off, we got out of that horrible room filling with water, only to run into more water. Anyway, occupied by a wall of angry water, Junpei shot out of the room into the opposing wall. Gasping to catch his breath, he looked around. He was in a narrow hallway. The water that had followed him out of the room was rapidly pouring out the door. It flowed quickly down the hallway and slammed into the foot of the short flight of stairs. Just 5 steps. Just 5 steps, in fact. And on top of this short staircase, another door. A door, another door. Yes, exactly, Junpei. That's what I said. Junpei leapt up the stairs straight for the door. Door burst open. Junpei exploded out, only to freeze in his tracks. What other possible response would there have been to what he saw? What the hell? His voice trailed off, and all he could do was stare. A polished floor stretched out before him, ornate staircase rising from the edges, each of them equidistant from the others. The stairs and the pillars were solid wood, no embellishments and decorations cover the walls and pillars. It looked like nothing so much as the entrance to a luxurious mansion from the early 1900s. Excuse me. Junpei couldn't help but wonder, was he really in a ship? The water quickly filling the hallway behind him suggested that yes, he was. As he looked, a fresh wave rolled out of the room. He began gathering speed as it moved towards the stairs. Yes, that's what I thought. This is totally a boat. Wait, what the hell? A wave? Shit! Gotta get out of here! Junpei spun around, his wet shoes squeaking in protest on the polished floor, and ran toward the tremendous staircase in front of him. C-deck. C-deck. B-deck. As he ran, he glanced quickly at the plates mounted on the wall, denoting the decks of the ship. He took the stairs 2 at a time, not entirely sure where he'd find himself. Just as he began to wonder where, in fact, the stairs did lead. Hello. Junpei saw another person out of the corner of his eye. He stopped short, nearly tripping over the next stair, and looked at it. It wasn't just one person that he had seen. On the landing to the left of the stairs, there were 4 people staring at him. And on the right side, 3 more. All told, there were 7 of them. It looked as though they had been on their way down the stairs. They stopped short when they saw Junpei, their eyes widened. He'd done the same, of course, and now they stood there staring at one another. Junpei didn't move, one foot placed awkwardly on the next step in the middle of his stride. Who were these people? Their entire interaction lasted only a matter of seconds. The woman spoke to Junpei, and time began to move again. Okay. I guess there's another one of us now. The woman was dressed, Junpei thought, rather like a dancer. Her clothes covered very little, and her prodigious anyway, jewelry little more. Hello. Hey, you, come on. Hurry. With no further ceremony, she ran straight past Junpei toward the doors behind him. The sudden proximity of a woman with such striking assets left Junpei momentarily stunned. Yeah, I would be stunned too, dude. But the others wasted no time and quickly followed the strange woman. First to pass Junpei was a young man with silver hair. He threw a quick glance in Junpei's direction as he ran, muttering, "Huh, one of us, huh?" Following him was an older man, his face calm and without fear. Soft fringes sprouted from his eyes, and he came close enough as he passed for Junpei to see wisps of gray hair. His composure and shock of hair struck Junpei as rather like that of an elderly lion. Going up won't do you any good. There are 2 doors, but neither of them will open. Oh god. The next to speak was a girl with pink hair and a high voice. Come on! Aren't you coming? You gotta hurry! Her small hand was wrapped around the wrist of another man. Okay. His eyes were closed, almost as though he were sleeping. His features were graceful, almost serene, and he was dressed rather elegantly for someone his age. Something about his posture seemed very refined, and Junpei couldn't help feeling he was noble and dignified somehow. He'd certainly never seen, but this man seemed like what Junpei had always imagined a prince would be like. Yes, that's 9 of us then. All of the cards are in hand. What does all the cards in hand mean, he wondered. Junpei opened his mouth to ask what the other man had meant, but the girl with pink hair rushed past them and they were gone. He turned just to see 2 more people running towards him. One of them had hair like a bird's nest and looked as though a stiff breeze might topple him, and the other was a veritable mountain of a man. The scrawny one said nothing and scuttled past Junpei as though he were running from something.
Hey! What the hell are you standing there for? Did you hear him? The doors on A deck are no good. Gotta check the doors on the B deck. Got it? Now go!
Before he had a chance to respond, the man laid a massive hand on Junpei's shoulder. With no more effort than Junpei would have used to brush aside a fly, the man shoved him out of the way. Whoa! Thrown off balance by the man's recent events, it took Junpei a few steps to get his bearings. He finally regained his balance and looked up at what the other 7 had been running toward. There were 2 pairs of large iron doors set into the wall in front of him. They looked quite sturdy and each had handles jutting from them. Written across the surface of each door in red paint was a number. 4. The door on the right had a 4. And the door on the left had a 5.
They're the same.
Oh wait, that's Silver. They're the same. The guy Junpei had decided to call Silver was mumbling to himself. The room I woke up in had a number on the door, just like that.
You too, eh?
With an arched eyebrow, the lion looked over at Silver.
My cell was the same. A number upon the door. I opened it and ran the hallway outside and found myself in a rather grand room. 4 stairs, as I suspected the rest of you.
It was as though the floodgates had been opened and they all began to talk at once.
Me too. I did too.
Yeah, a door with a number on it. It soon became clear that each one of them had awoken in a room with a locked door and solved a puzzle to escape. They all ended up in the same room, almost as though they had been guided there. Yes, we all saw the same things. That's not important. We need to hurry. Yeah, I think I don't know that. Yeah, you think I don't know that, lady? Before the dancer had time to finish, Silver was already running. He grabbed hold of the door labeled 5 and pulled. However... Fuck! It's not opening! The damn thing won't even budge!
Move! You're in the way!
Mountain grabbed Silver's shoulder and tossed him aside. His path cleared, he took a few steps back, then threw himself at the door. Once. Twice. Thrice. Quad. Quad. 4 times. The Quattro. There we go. The door shook as his body slammed into it, but showed no signs of breaking or opening. Mountain threw himself at the door again. Junpei turned toward door 4. Next to the door on the wall was a small box. It looked just like the one he'd seen in his room. Next to that door, it was the same. Then this door was likely locked as well. Still, he had to check. Junpei grabbed a handle and threw all of his weight into it. It was locked, as tight as the door next to it as he's expected. Damn it! Junpei punched the door, it didn't respond. Were these the only doors, he wondered? He barely finished the thought when the C-deck plate he passed on his way up sprang unbidden to his mind. His body moved before he had time to think. Junpei turned and ran back toward the stairs. He had scarcely taken a step when, at the top of the stairs next to an ornate clock embedded in the wall, he saw a person. It was a girl. She looked to be the same age as Junpei. He froze, unable to look away from her face. He wasn't confounded by her beauty or something equally silly. No, there was another reason he couldn't take his eyes off the girl. Besides the already mentioned things that he said it wasn't, but yes, at the same time it was. Because let's face it, Junpei, she does look good, right? Junpei had seen her somewhere before. He couldn't quite remember, but he knew. He knew he met her before. The girl, too, stared at Junpei, seemingly stunned. Her response suggested she'd seen him before as well. Without saying a word, Junpei walked slowly toward her. She didn't move. It was almost as though she was held in place by some sort of magic spell. As Junpei stepped onto the landing, the spell broke. No sooner had he set his foot down than the whole ship shook a second time. Ah! The quake caught the girl and prepared, and she fell. Moving on instinct, Junpei leapt to catch her. Or so he thought. Her face was far closer than it should have been, mere inches from his own. Personal space violated! He was flat on his back, and she had landed squarely on top of him. The girl seemed as confused as he did, and her face suggested she still hadn't quite fully recovered from seeing him. For a moment that seemed to stretch for a very long time, they stared at one another. The ship stopped shaking. Everything was quiet. Water could be heard from the bottom of the ship, lapping faintly at the walls and ceilings, but eventually that faded as well. The silence was complete, a thick, muffling blanket. At last, the girl opened her mouth. Oh my gosh, is that you? Junpei? Wait, no, not Junpei. Jumpy? Jumpy? Jumpy. Her words echoed through Junpei's head. Jumpy, 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 jumpy. And suddenly his memory returned. Akane? Here's a little reference for you. Time reference. If any of you guys got that, you get it. You get brownie points. If you got that reference. Why hadn't he realized it before? The girl was Akane Kurashiki. She and Junpei had been friends in childhood. They'd been gone to elementary school together for 6 years. But what was she doing on the ship? Her soft eyes were only inches away from his own. He could feel the warmth of her face. Feelings he thought long forgotten began to work their way to the surface. He could feel his face heating up. At that moment, a speaker crackled to life and a cold, eerie voice filled the room.
Welcome aboard.
No, we're not doing that again. I welcome you all from the bottom of my heart to this my vessel. The voice invasion, the spell between Junpei and Akane, was broken, and all hints of burgeoning romance instantly forgotten. They hurriedly untangled themselves from one another and struggled to their feet. Her 7 companions had heard the voices as well, and many of their faces had gone pale. They looked around frantically, desperate to locate the source of the voice. At last they found it. A speaker set in the ceiling. I am Zero! No, we're not doing that, Zero. Wrong, Zero. The captain of this ship. I'm also the person who invited you here. The voice was harsh, obscured occasionally by the crackle of static, but Junpei recognized it. How could he have forgotten it? Hello. It was the same voice he heard from the man in the gas mask. Hey, asshole! What the hell is this? Come on, out here. I want to get a good look at you. Get a look at you.
What do you mean to do to us?
I need to have you participate in a game.
Want to play a game?
Some of you I know are familiar with this game. The nunnery game. It is a game where you will put your life on the line. Nunnery game?
What the hell's that?
Always continue implacable. Implacable? The rules in the nunnery game can be found upon your persons. They are simple rules. Read them. Nunnery game? Hey, there's something in my pocket. Check this out. Silver reached into his pocket and pulled out a small slip of paper. The rest of them reached into their own pockets and pulled out similar slips of paper. Junpei followed suit and dug into the pocket of his pants. He felt the telltale crumpled paper was slightly damp from his earlier ordeal. Hey, I got one too.
Then it would seem Zero has seen fit to grace us each with a letter.
Do you mind terribly reading it to us, young man? His request had been delivered to Junpei, who, after a short moment of surprise, did as he had been asked. On this ship, you'll find a handful of doors emblazoned with numbers. We'll call them the number doors. The doors in front of you are a pair of the same. The key to opening these number doors are the number bracelets that each of you possess. Should you total the numbers on your number bracelets and find that digital root of that number is equal to the number of that door, the door will open. Only those who have opened the door may pass through. There are, however, limits. Only 3 to 5 people can pass through the one numbered door. All those who entered must leave, and all those who enter must contribute. The bracelet Junpei figured out had to mean the bulky things on his wrist. He glanced around. It looked like everyone else had one as well, and had come to much the same conclusion. The purpose of the game is simple. Leave the ship alive. It's hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9. Junpei reached the end of the letter. That was a long moment of silence, and the speaker crackled into life once more. Excuse me. There's one last thing I must tell you. As you have no doubt surmised, the ship has begun to sink. On April 14, 1912, the famous ocean liner Titanic crashed into the iceberg. After remaining afloat for 2 hours, 40 minutes, it sank beneath the water of the North Atlantic. I will give you more time. 9 hours. That is the time you'll be given to make your escape. The voice finished and the speaker went silent. The sound of the bell tolling echoed through the hall. It came from the dance hall adjacent to the stairwell. It took those assembled on the stairs mere moments to trace around the antique clock embedded in the wall. 7, 8, 9. The sound of the 9th bell faded away. The 10th never came. That meant that time was 9 o'clock, most likely 9 o'clock in the evening. When Junpei appeared out the window of the cell, he had seen nothing but blackness. It had to be nighttime. If that was the case, then they would need to escape by 6 a.m. the following day. Now it is time. Let our game begin. I wish you all the best of luck. The speaker went silent and did not speak again. Silver yelled at the speaker with language coarse enough to embarrass a sailor, but the rest of Junpei's companions were silent deep in thought. Junpei too was consumed by his thoughts. There was a great deal he didn't understand. Who was Zero? What was this nunnery game? Why had he chosen to make them a part of it? Was he a criminal who took delight in playing with the victims? Or did he have some other purpose? And why had Junpei been chosen as part of this insane game? Why had any of them been chosen? But on one question was foremost on his mind. Akane. They haven't seen one another since elementary school. Why had she appeared now? Coincidence? No, that seemed impossible. There had to be a reason. He didn't know what it might be, but there had to be a reason. Very well. The line's voice seemed oddly loud in the silence.
Standing around here won't do us any good. Best we get moving, don't you think?
Get moving? Are you planning to open the number doors? Hey, wait! Don't tell me you're actually going to do what this Zero says.
No, that's not what I mean. 'Cause I'm John Connery.
The lion shook his head, mildly annoyed.
I'm saying let's find another way. After all, we haven't really examined this place yet.
Wait, what? The separate investigation finished. All 9 people returned to where they had left one another. The result of all their work was nothing. As per usual. They were completely sealed in. Their hard work had not gone completely to waste, however. They had learned a number of things as they scoured the parts of the ship they could reach. It seemed that they were confined to decks A through C. C deck was far down as they would be able to go, however, the reason being, it's bloody flooded. This deck was completely submerged. Strangely, however, the water had risen no higher than D-deck. The flow seemed to have been stopped somehow, as evidenced by the surface of the water on D-deck, which was smooth as glass. Prince knelt down and gently drew his hand across it.
Yes. Perhaps the Zero fellow has used some sort of remote control to seal a watertight door lower down. He said that He said that our time limit was 9 hours. In other words, the water won't rise for 9 hours.
Then you're saying we won't sink till then?
Well, that may be a little too optimistic.
But no point to wishful thinking. There was 3 metal doors on C deck. A single door stood off to the side with 2 more on the wall facing the central staircase. None of them had numbers or verification devices. They were, however, locked in the other doors. No matter how they push and shove, the doors refused to move. The mountain and the lion threw themselves against them a few times, but to no avail. The door in the back had a keyhole. Okay, real quick. Just cutting out. Since I already played through this game, I already know what happens in a few certain parts. Obviously, I'm going to be choosing choices I didn't pick my first playthrough. And, I actually, like I said in my first part of this, that I wanted to play the game separately by myself to enjoy it and think about, like, maybe I want to record this or not. So, yeah, next portion, I'll be skipping through this. I'll even be skipping through the prologue because no one likes that. Everyone hates the prologue. It's dumb. It's difficult. It's difficult for being the sake of difficult. And compared to like the other puzzles I've done already, yeah, that one was the hardest puzzle. So anyway, we'll be skipping through a lot of this in the next playthrough. So door in the back had a keyhole. Just above it was a strange mark on the shape of a circle surrounding a dot. There were 2 other doors on the C deck as well, but it was clear they were elevators as each had a button next to the lit with an upside-down triangle. They tried pushing the button. No response. Apparently there was no power running the elevators. To the left of the elevator doors was a card reader. The card reader had also a strange mark on it. It looked like a lowercase h with a dash drawn across the upper stem of the H. Junpei stared at it for a while.
This is a symbol of Saturn. It's an astrological symbol.
Then the mark on the other door...
I think that was the sun symbol.
They had seen the same symbols on A deck. There was a door on either side of the stairs. This one on the left had a keyhole with a similar symbol engraved on it.
This is an Earth symbol.
The horizontal line symbolizes the equator, and the vertical one represents the prime meridian. Junpei looked up at the ceiling. There was a great circle cut in it, perhaps for a skylight or a glass dome, but it had been filled with a gargantuan metal plate. Metal looked very solid. Anything short of an explosive charge was unlikely to damage it. There were several windows along the sides of the ship, or at least there had been. They too were covered with metal plates. Oh, this looks and sounds like exactly like Danganronpa. In other words, we're trapped. All the exits go nowhere. Junpei was not happy. The girl with the pink hair spoke up.
Sorry, well, I'm sure they go somewhere. We just can't open them.
I thought it was a really high-pitched voice at first. Anyway, Mountain spoke.
You don't know that. For all we know, they just open into walls or take us in circles.
Yeah. And the prince did not agree.
No, I'm sure they go somewhere. Otherwise, what's the point? What point would there be? And we can open them. Well, 2 of them at least.
4 and 5. You mean the number doors? All eyes turned toward the doors on them. The atmosphere in the room grew tense.
Hey, wait a minute. I think I said this earlier, but I don't think we should do that.
The dancer moved in front of the doors as if to block them.
We have to be crazy to open one of these doors. If we do that, we're doing exactly what Zero wants us to do.
Suddenly, everyone began to speak at once.
I agree.
I don't. That's a terrible idea.
We should keep moving.
we should stay here.
We don't have any other way to open any of these doors.
We should just wait. Someone's bound to come find us.
We don't have time for that.
In 8.5 hours, this ship is going to sink.
Clamor of voices made it next to impossible, excuse me, pardon me, scratch my nose, to determine who was saying what. Arguments grew more and more intense until people were shouting and screaming at one another. Junpei had remained silent, but at last he could take it no more. Hey, shut up! They felt silent, and all eyes turned to Junpei. He felt each stare burning into him, but he refused to flinch. When we try and decide before we were trying to decide where we're going to go, there's something else we ought to do.
What's that?
We need to exchange information. We don't know anything about each other. I want to know about who you guys are, where you come from, why you ended up here. Don't tell me you aren't curious too. They were silent. Some of them looked the other way, or bit their lip, or crossed their arms and stared at the ceiling. Well, one of them spoke up. It was Akane.
I agree. I think Jumpy is right.
Jumpy? I mean, Jumper.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Talking about him.
I just call him Jumpy. His name is Junpei. She pointed toward Junpei.
We're childhood friends. We went to the same elementary school.
Wait, stop. Don't tell us stuff we didn't ask you about. Zero's probably watching us right now. What are you gonna do if he's here listening in?
Oh, would that be bad?
Oh yeah, it would. We don't know how much that bastard knows about us. Maybe he's just picked up a bunch of random people to kidnap. If that is the case, then it'd be dangerous for us to let him know too much. If Zero knows who we are, we could go after our families. Maybe he'd tell us he had them to get us to do stuff, you know?
But we still need to know what our names are. It's going to be hard to talk to each other if we don't have names.
Alright then, why don't we have code names?
Tim, apparently it seemed like an obvious solution.
Codenames?
Yeah, we'll each pick something. Like, I'll be 7.
7? Why are you 7? Seemed a fair question. The mountain stuck out his left arm.
Because this bracelet number says 7.
Oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's a good idea. He smirked. Alright, I'm gonna be called Santa. Any of you chumps know Japanese? No? Well, San means 3, so I'll be Santa. You? No, like Santa Claus. Fits, don't you think?
Then your bracelet number.
Yeah, got a 3 on it. Good job, Grandpa. Just like Mountain had done, Silver thrusted out his left hand. Sure enough, the face of the bracelet read 3.
Very well then. I'll go next, shall I? My bracelet number is 1. It's 1. Given that I think Ace seems appropriate.
I'll be Lotus, then. As I'm sure you all know, it has 8 petals. Which means, of course, that my bracelet number is...
Ocho! I would appreciate if you could call me Snake. Snake! Snake!
My bracelet number is 2. Since Ace has chosen cards, then I choose dice. Snake Eyes, clearly, which is particularly irrelevant given that given that I am blind. Blind? Really? He kept his eyes closed during their entire ordeal, which suggested something strange, but here, it said so casually, it was something of a surprise. Everyone seemed a little nervous at the prince's proclamation, but no one seemed to know how to react to it. There was one person, however, who didn't seem to be surprised in the least. A girl with pink hair.
I want to be Clover. You know, like 4-leaf clover. Good luck, right?
Looking almost bored, she held out her left hand. The face of her bracelet showed the number 4. They come around to Junpei. He held his bracelet. Alright, my number is 5, so my codename is going to be... I have one. It's not like there's any point to it now. The dancer cut him off in mid-sentence. I mean, we all know your name already. You're Junpei. Oh. They all nodded. Akane stepped forward nervously. Then you should all call me by my name too. Because, I mean, it doesn't seem
fair to Jumpy.
You're thinking it's You're thinking it's not cool for you to hide your name after you told us this? Akane fidgeted awkwardly. Junpei decided to do something. What's your bracelet number? It's 6. She hesitated for a moment, then held out her left hand. As she claimed the bracelets showed 6. Junpei looked at it for a moment and thought, alright then, why don't we call you June? June?
June.
Yeah, you know, it's the 6th month of the year, so you're June.
Jumpy.
Akane had kneaded her hands and looked up, and Junpei uncertain. He smiled back at her reassuringly. Are you good with that? She thought about it for a few minutes and then seemed to come to a decision and gave Junpei a small nod. Then the names decided. Junpei ran over to them quickly in his head. 1 was Ace. 2 was Snake. 3 was Santa. 4 was Clover. 5 was Junpei's number. Akane was 6, and Junpei had given her the codename June. 7 was 7. And 8 was Lotus. That meant that 8 of them, including Junpei, had revealed their bracelet numbers, but there was still 1 person left. He was the man with glasses, haired like a bird's nest. He hadn't said anything since they met on the stairs, and he didn't look like the sort of person who was inclined to conversation. Now, what about you, dude? His skin was pale, his breathing was heavy, and he was soaked with nervous sweat. His behavior seemed very suspicious, or perhaps simply emotionally unstable. It was difficult to tell. Whatever the case, it seemed clear that he had only a fingertip's worth of grip on his sanity. The girl with pink hair, Clover, walked up to him slowly. She put her hands on her hips and eyed him suspiciously.
What number are you?
He didn't answer. His bloodshot eyes twitched from person to person, and his breath came in hot pants.
Hey, I'm talking to you.
Then the man licked his dry lips with a shaking tongue and spoke with a voice like an old paper.
Isn't it obvious? There are 9 people here. And you know who numbers 1 through 8 are. And I'm the only one left. So you're 9? Yeah.
He extended a trembling arm. Bracelet it did indeed say 9. Clover looked at it contemptuously.
What's your code name?
Code name?
What do you want us to call you?
Y'all made up names. You should too. I don't need one.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to stay here with you. He took a shuddering breath and exhaled. Clover looked at him with something very like disgust.
You got some sort of plan?
I do.
What's that?
You sure you will want to know?
Yeah.
Alright. Let me show you. I'm going to do this.
Hey!
By the time they realized what he was doing, it was too late to stop him. The man's body moved like a snake's. In the blink of an eye, he had slid around behind her and wrapped his arm around her waist.
Hey, what the hell you think you're doing?
Silver Sauna leapt forward toward Clover and the 9th man. He was halfway there when...
Stay back!
Suddenly, the man's hand dove into his pocket. Oh, snap! He came back out with a knife. A pocket knife. He held it to Clover's pale, quivering neck.
If you get any closer...
It's gonna be obnoxious. I'm glad I know something about this guy that you all will figure out very soon.
I'll cut her open.
Santa skidded to a halt. He snarled at the scrawny man with the knife and gritted his teeth. Okay, I think this is a good spot to end. So, will the group end up saving Clover? Will Clover get stabbed by that pocket knife? Will the 9th man get away? Until next time, have a good day, and sayonara.